Chapter 17. As Andorn pushed open the door, he watched for the ringleader's reactions. He had had no luck with either ruffian in terms of getting information, and he'd been going back and forth most of the day. Not that the other hadn't talked. He'd spouted a great deal. It simply wasn't anything useful. The lower-ranked thug didn't know anything, but Andorn knew this other captive did. The trick would be getting him to reveal it. Andorn needed to find a way into the man's head. From near the open door, it looked like the guy was asleep, as awkward as that must be while sat in a small chair. But Andorn wasn't taking any chances. It wouldn't be the first time he'd faked a more docile state to see if he could buy an advantage. When Andorn was convinced the thug wasn't faking it, he picked up the bucket of snow he had, walked over to the prisoner, and tipped it over him. It had the desired effect. The thug woke with a start, gasping and squirming without having a clue what had just happened. Still blindfolded, there wasn't a lot the ruffian could do to anticipate anything. "Hello," Andorn said, once the man was only shivering, instead of cursing as well.
"What the bloody hell do you want? What kind of greeting was that?"
"I'm sure you've done worse. It was only snow." Andorn walked farther away and leaned against the wall. "Are you ready for a little chat?"
"Depends. If you want to talk about how good a hot fire would be right now, I'm all in agreement. It's a cold time of year."
Andorn laughed. "We both know that's not what I'm here to talk about." Andorn sat on the floor, watching the man shiver a bit. "I'm quite a patient man normally, but you've put me in a bad mood, you see."
"I think neither of us wants to be here then."
"Oh yes, we can agree on that. I'd like to be back in that nice inn the town has, sat by the fire, eating a decent meal, bowl of stew perhaps, with a nice hunk of fresh bread." I imagine we're both agreed on that one too."
"Pretty sure I already said that. Nice hot fire. And no sensible man turns down good food when he can get it."
"Right," Andorn said, studying the prisoner. "So why don't you tell me where your boss lives, and what else you know about him, and then we can all head down there. I'll even buy you a meal, and sit you down in front of the fire myself."
"Ha ha! You expect me to believe that one? You'll turn me over to the mayor, and I'll be locked up."
"Admittedly, I believe in justice being served, but I reckon I could defer that until you had the chance at a good dinner. My way of saying thanks for making this last bit easier."
"Shove your offer somewhere."
Now, there's no need to be rude about it all. We both know my offer is better than you deserve."
"I don't care what I do or don't deserve. Sitting in front of a hot fire and having a decent bite to eat is what I want."
Andorn sighed. He was getting nowhere. Thinking as the ringleader shivered in his chair, Andorn had an idea. He leapt to his feet and went over to the captive. A moment later he freed him from the chair, but had hold of the man's bound hands to keep him from running. "If you want a hot fire, I think that can be arranged." Andorn grinned as he thought about his plan. Almost dragging the reluctant guy, Andorn led him back out into the snow and over to the tent. He felt a little bad that the others hadn't been sleeping more than a few hours, but it would have to do. Thorgrim noticed him first and got up to help get the door underfoot open. Thorgrim touched it, removing something and chanting as he did. The commotion made Saria's wolf stir, and in turn did the same to Saria. They hurried to their feet when they saw what was going on. Saria placed her hand on the wolf's back, helping to keep it calm and steady as Andorn walked the thug nearer to the door. A moment later, Andorn pushed the thug inside, following after. Thorgrim followed, but Andorn noticed Saria didn't come all the way, she and her wolf staying 2/3 of the way up the steps, blocking the only exit with their collective bulk. He grinned as he thought about what was to follow. Before the annoying captive could do anything else, Andorn pulled the blindfold off and let him see the interior. At first, he didn't notice the fire, instead turning on the spot and staring as if he thought Andorn and everyone else had gone mad. Then he saw it. The flame, as it zipped around everywhere. His mouth fell open, and Andorn had to fight not to laugh at that as well. They'd managed to surprise their captive, at least. "This is what you were looking for, or at least your men were."
"I didn't truly believe it until now."
The prisoner walked forward a couple of steps, his eyes never leaving the flame as it darted around. "Well, why don't we talk to it? It's a smart little thing. Understands some of our words and everything." At this, the flame zipped closer and came to hover in front of them. Andorn waved. "Hello," he said. "Thank you for listening a moment. I'd like to introduce you to our captive." The prisoner looked to Andorn, then back at the flame, clearly not sure what to do. "He planned on doing something with you. Had men looking for you. Not to talk to you and get to know you like Mir and Thorgrim have been doing. To use you. Let you out of here and drive you into a nearby town. He wanted to get you to set light to all their houses, like Kendra once did with you." The fire began to spark, the colors in the center swirling.
"What's it doing?"
the prisoner asked. "Getting angry, I think."
"Why is it doing that?"
"Because it doesn't like being used. It knows that if it's used to destroy people's homes, these people will want to destroy it. And you see, this is generally a very friendly little ball of fire. It much prefers being useful." The prisoner gulped as the flame danced around in front of him, getting closer. "Do you think the people will like it still if you get your way and use it to burn down the town?" Andorn asked, pressing his advantage. The fire grew a little again, its center color getting darker and darker as it came closer and closer.
I'm not... It wasn't my idea,"
the ringleader blurted out, but the fire didn't stop, and Andorn didn't try to get it to back down.
"I swear, it wasn't what I wanted."
The guy tried to back up, but he tripped and fell. Immediately the fireball dropped down, hovering above the captive's torso. "So, who did come up with the idea? Who wants to use this innocent little creature to destroy?" Andorn asked, coming closer as well, almost as surprised his idea was working as glad it was. It had been a complete gamble.
"It was the mayor's butler, a guy named Trollin. He's had enough of the mayor. Lives in the house behind. It's a tiny wooden thing in comparison. The guy was meant to be some kind of knighted hero by now. Wanted to earn his way into peerage, get himself a stone house, and then the mayor changed something last minute. He wants to burn everything down. Make the mayor realize how foolish he was for not bringing in more stone sooner."
"Is that so?" Andorn asked, seeing the pure terror in the prone man's eyes. "Then it sounds like you're right. Isn't it a good thing we've stopped you? I think you should apologize to our little friend here, don't you?"
"Yes, of course. I'm so sorry,"
the guy said, his eyes wide as he did his best to stammer out some kind of apology.
"I had no idea that you were something so special."
Almost immediately the flames seemed to calm, the fiery flickers growing smaller, and the swirling colors in the center slowly growing lighter, back to the greenish blue they were before. Everyone slowly relaxed, including Saria by the door. Andorn moved around to grab the prisoner as he had picked himself up off the floor. "Fantastic," Andorn said. "Let's get you somewhere more comfortable while we figure out what we're doing and how you're going to prove your accusation to us."
"I don't need to prove it. Just take a look in that box of mine, you'll see. You'll find one of the butler's rings, one of those stupid ones nobles have so they can seal their letters with their signet. Only the butler had to get someone to design his, and they screwed it up. Idiot couldn't afford another. Threw that one away."
"How does that prove anything?" Saria asked as Andorn marched his prisoner past.
"Ask the innkeeper. He'll know. He was the one who pointed it out to the butler one day. He'll also know what the butler did with it after. How I could get it."
Andorn frowned, but was quick to nod. "We'll check your theory. Then we'll be back to deal with you." Andorn escorted him back into the small room and tied him to the chair again. As he emerged onto the porch once more, where the others were waiting for him, he sighed. It was always someone you didn't expect. He didn't need to check either. The prisoner had been telling the truth, but that didn't solve the next element of the problem. "The mayor won't believe us," Saria said before anyone else could speak. "He won't want to, not without a lot of proof." "Surely those letters will be enough." Mira looked between the others. Andorn thought for a moment, picturing them, but the writer had tried to disguise elements. He had no way of knowing how similar they were to the man's usual writing. While he was thinking, Yarlin was rummaging through the belongings they had stripped both men of, clearly looking for the ring that had been mentioned. He grinned as he pulled it out and held it up.
"Ugly piece of finger jewelry. No wonder he threw it away,"
Yarlin exclaimed, showing it to Andorn. It was meant to depict some kind of coat of arms with words in a foreign tongue over the bottom, but the words had been misspelt, and the coat of arms looked like a strange, angry cat face. It was a badly smithed item. "So that part seems to be true at least," Andorn said quietly, mostly talking to himself. "And the other guy's story backs it up. He said it was someone annoyed they weren't taken more seriously," Saria said. "The butler's the perfect angry but well-informed person."
"I'll put another charm on the fire door," Thorgrim said, "just in case these two men get loose and try to get up to mischief. It won't hold against a powerful mage, but it will keep the everyday person out."
"Good. The rest of you prepare for battle. There's no way this butler won't have more men in the house with him. We'll head into town as soon as the sun starts to set. It won't be long now," Andorn said, ushering them back to their belongings. As they all hurried off, he paused a moment, taking it all in. Were they really about to storm the house of one of the most influential people in town? Of course, everyone assumed the most influential was the mayor of a town, or a figurehead, but Andorn had learnt early on that it was information that made people influential, and butlers and aides saw more than most realized, and they often saw more than one side of things too. People acted like they were invisible, talked in front of them like they weren't there. The butler always knew the secrets others wanted to hide, and there were always plenty of them. Any person in a position of power eventually did something they thought people wouldn't understand, or had to make a difficult decision, or strike a deal with someone shady to get something else they needed. And those things grew over time. They were also often a slippery slope. The big question in Andorn's mind was whether the mayor knew, and to find that out, they were going to have to be very careful. Either way, it was going to be an interesting few hours. Andorn grabbed his pack and checked all his weapons were where he usually stowed them. As soon as he was ready for whatever might be in the butler's house, Andorn walked out of the hut and found the rest of his party. Stood in the snow, Saria had a hand resting on the shoulders of her wolf, equally ready. As he came closer, Andorn realized she wasn't paying him much attention, her eyes instead on the hut and tent. "It's a shame all this has been used for such evil," she said, as soon as Andorn was close. "It is, but we've got a chance to liberate it now." "Good. Wayfarer likes it here." Andorn raised his eyebrow, not sure whom she meant, but before he could open his mouth and ask, understanding dawned on him. She meant the wolf beside her. "You named him then?" Andorn asked instead. "Not really. He kind of came with the name. I tried a few before I remembered an old story. One about Kendra, strangely enough. There were rumors that she had some kind of companion called Ulfa. When I said the name aloud, he let me know that it was his." "Ah, so it's the name he came with." She smiled and nodded, her face coming alive in a way that made him feel warm on the inside. She had a light in her eyes. The moment seemed to stretch into eternity, the pair looking into each other's gazes. And then Thorgrim bustled out of the tent, clanking his warhammer against a shield.
"Right, point the way, my good fellows,"
the cleric said, Mira appearing as well before he'd even finished speaking. Andorn looked them all over for a moment before nodding. Yes, this little bunch could be guided, and had already grown used to doing so.